Hi guys, Thomas and Friends 47 here, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Thomas and Friends Motorized A Bridge to Sodor. And here on the packaging, you can see that this box is very different from other packaging because they've rotated it up on its side the way that they printed it, and it makes it really interesting and grabs your attention when you see it in stores. You'll see here to it note that it says that Bruno is push along, and I think that's interesting. Here's the back of the box, and there we can see in a little bit more detail. Very cool. Here's the other side of the box. See, it has some of the engines from the Steam team there. Here's the top and the bottom. And one thing that I thought was interesting was this actually has the Mattel logo on the bottom. Typically it doesn't have that. And of course the Thomas barcode. Now once we open up the box, you'll see that the Steam team there, then you have the All Engines Go logo, and it even tells you to look for their show, which is interesting. Here's a look at the instructions. You can see there's a lot of one-time snaps there. And then here's a track plan, and there's actually two different track plans that are provided with this set, which I thought was interesting. It's always good to have variety. There's the how to play section, and there's also this little bit of legal information that was over the instructions. Alright, now let's take a look at what's included inside the box, and here you can see everything laid out before we built it. You have the engine car and brake car, you have the track and everything, the buffer stops there, everything that's included in this set. Very interesting. The billboard in the background, though, is not included. That's my own, same way with the trees, but you get the idea. There's little risers, and this billboard right here with Thomas on it, that is included. Alright, speaking of Thomas, let's take a look at Thomas out of the box. And we can see that this is just your basic, motorized Thomas. There's nothing really special going on here, nothing overly important. The face is okay, but again, it's similar to what we've seen before. Here's the back of the engine. Here's the top. And the bottom. Alright, next we're going to take a look at this mining car, and again, it's nothing to write home about. It's a standard mining car. We've seen it before. These aren't my favorite cars. I would have much preferred a truck, but I get it, they're popular in AEG, so it makes sense to have it here. Here's the top. And the bottom. And next, let's take a look at Bruno. So you can see here that there's a lot of good details on Bruno, but this is the same Bruno that we got with Percy and Bruno. So there's no major real differences here. The face, however, is very cool. You can see that he's looking straight ahead. You also see the little great detail there, which is nice, little lamp detail. But if we take a look at the old Bruno, you can see the other Bruno had a different facial expression, just slightly different, so I like that. Here's the other side, which is basically the same. And then the back with the molded door detail there. The top of the I almost said engine, but the car, and the bottom. Alright, and also included are these two boulders. Alright, so now that we've seen this, let's take a look at Carly. You can see here that this is just the same Carly that we've had with the Fix 'em Up Friend set. She is permanently on top of this roof, but she can turn her crane arm 360 degrees. However, for movement up and down, you only have just the slightest bit of movement there that you can see. You can also use this claw to grab boulders out of the freight cars and load them up, and this stop lever will help stop Thomas when he comes along. Here's the front, the other side, and the back. Now here's the top, and the bottom. Alright, also included is this little loader. We've seen this before again. Relatively easy to assemble. So you have this little arm there that when you pull it, it makes a thing swing so you can drop the cargo down. It's just located on this little curved track. And then here's a look at the top and the bottom. Now next up is a Sodor suspension bridge, and I love this bridge. We got it in the cream and red before, it was beautiful, but this just looks so much more like the show. You have that beautiful green and this beautiful beige color, and it looks even better in person than it does on camera, because on camera it looks a little bit paler than it is in person, but it's really cool. I'm glad that we got this again, especially in the Sodor suspension bridge colors, which I think is very cool. Here's the top of the bridge. And the bottom. One thing I will say though, it does tend to bow because it comes in two separate halves. That's my only complaint. Now, next is this billboard. And you'll see it's a relatively weird screenshot. You'll see mine has a crease in it from where I didn't stick the sticker down properly. But all in all, it's just a very pod screenshot. Doesn't really add anything to the set, and it's just kind of weird that they included that image with it. I don't know. Here's the top of the billboard and the bottom there. Alright, and here is the set built up, and you can see this is actually a pretty large set, 13 feet of track in total. Let's go ahead and get ready to run Thomas. So we put the boulder down, and we start Thomas on his journey. And you can see that he comes over here to the loader, we stop Thomas, and we lower that boulder into the car. It's important to note that you have to stop Thomas manually, because it doesn't have a stop track. Once we start him again, he'll go over the bumpy rails, and then up the hill. And then he comes to the Sodor suspension bridge. That's a tall bridge. From there, he's going to come down the hill and into Carly's shed. So Carly's here to help. She's going to take and help unload the boulder for Thomas and Bruno. And once you do that, this is actually a little bit tricky to do on camera. Now that we've unloaded the boulder, Thomas is ready to go. And then he heads along on his journey. And what's also cool about this, again you'll see the bumpy tracks, is you can also switch the points and have him stay in this little circle loop, so you don't have to have him go around the complete loop. Now that we've seen it run, let's talk about some of the negatives to this set. So that's how the set is supposed to work, and I say supposed to work because it doesn't always work like this. For example, where Thomas comes down the hill into into Carly's shed, it almost always derails, and you can see that in the video footage. The car, for some reason, Bruno's weight pushes the car and causes it to jam and derail. And usually it has a jam against that building, and then Thomas gets stuck. And this happened the first time, and I was like, well, maybe it's a fluke. You know, sometimes it'll do that. But it did it over and over and over. And in fact, the majority of the time of playing with this set, with Bruno on it, causes it to derail. So what I instead did when testing this out, I left Bruno off of the train, and then that ran easier. So the car did not derail half as many times as it did when Bruno was on the train. But that's a problem that I have with this set. Because Bruno is included, I expect to be able to run him with Thomas and the freight car. And brake cars and brake vans are meant to go at the end of the train. So it's meant to go at the end of the train. And it's kind of sad that you can't run it in the way that it was meant to be with the brake van at the end. So all in all, it's a great set. I like the details that are included here, including the recolored Sodor suspension bridge. You know, it's a great way to get Carly, and of course the loader, and a lot of nice track as well. I just don't think the functions work that well, you know, in its execution. All in all, though, it's not a bad set, and I do recommend getting it if you get a chance. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.